Hello, my name is Jennifer Wilson, and I'm with the Gulfport School District. And today we're going to talk about two language standards, L.4.4, which are your Greek and Latin roots and affixes, and L.4.6, context clues. So let's get started. So first up, we're going to talk about what are root words and affixes. So a root is a word part that cannot stand alone by itself. But sometimes you can take those roots and combine them to make a word. And then your affixes are going to be your prefixes and suffixes that you either see before or at the end to make a word. So let's look at some examples of roots. Okay, so first, what you see here is I've organized some different root words into categories. And we have your science, your sound, your vision, and your writing. So with these words, when you look at them, you can think about science words. You're going to think about something that you see with science. So astro, when you see astro or astra, you're thinking of space or something to do with space. So for example, the astronaut went into space. And then geo, when you think about the word or the root geo, you're thinking about Earth. So in math class, we study geometric shapes. And then bio, when you think about bio, you think about life. So I like to read biographies about famous people. And a biography is a book about someone's life. And then you have your sound root words, having to do with anything with listening. So like odd, if you see that word odd, you think of something to hear. So we will perform in the auditorium, a place where you go to hear maybe someone read or someone to sing. And then dict. Dict means to speak. So he found the word in a dictionary. And then fawn, which means sound. She can talk on the telephone all night long. And then you have your vision root words. So you have vid and spect. Okay, so vid means to see. So you can think about some words that use that root vid. For example, the lawyer asked to see the evidence in court. And then you have spect, which means to look. She inspected the room after we left. And then you have your writing words, graph and script. He wrote an autobiography about his life. So that graph means writing. And then you have script, which means to write. So the authors read the script together. Okay, so then we have another list of some important Greek and Latin roots that you probably have seen when you're looking at vocabulary. So auto, when you think of auto, talking about self. So the doors will close automatically, meaning they close on their own by themselves. And then we have bene, which means good. So we will benefit from their gifts, meaning we will see the rewards from their gifts. And then form means to shape. So tonight we will perform the songs in the musical, meaning they're actually going to get up and actually do it. They're going to form it, they're going to shape it. Then you have jet, which means to throw. So my mom will reject the idea of the party on Saturday night, meaning she's going to throw it out, she's going to not agree to it. And then we have loc, which means place. So next year we are relocating to a new state, meaning we're going somewhere else, a new place. And then port means to carry. So sometimes I wish I could teleport to a new place. So with that one, we actually have two roots to make a word. So teleport means to go to a new place. And instruct, build. The construction site is a complete mess right now. And then we have tele, which means far off. Our television went out during the storm last night. So with the word television, we have two roots combined, and we also have a suffix to make the word television, meaning you see something that is made far off. And then you have trans, which means across. She can translate for us when we go overseas. All right, so now we're going to move into looking at those affixes. You have prefixes and suffixes. So your prefixes are going to come before your words. And some common words are by, miss, pre, re, and dis. Okay, so by means two. So when you think about that word bicycle, a bicycle has two wheels. And then miss means wrong. So there was a mistake on the test. There was something wrong on the test. And then pre means before. So when you think about that word preview, you see it before other people. And then re means to do again. So the dog had to regain our trust. So the dog had to get it back again. And then you have dis, which is not or apart. Okay? The internet disconnected while in class, meaning that the internet stopped working. Then you have your suffixes, and those are going to come at the end of your words. So you have full, less, ness, ibble, and mint. So when you see full, it means full of. So she was cheerful this morning. So she was full of cheer. And then less means without. So the kitten was helpless outside in the rain, meaning it was without help. And then ness means the quality of. We should show kindness every day. So we should show more kindness, more being around other people. But that's what ness means, the quality of. And then able means able to. They were capable of winning the game. And then mint means the act or state of. So the science experiment worked. All right, so now we're going to move into context clues. This is also a part of vocabulary. So context clues help readers figure out the meaning of words in a text. So one way you can do this is by looking at the word and seeing if you can find a definition, maybe examples, or restatements to figure out what the word means. And you can also look for things like synonyms and antonyms of the words to also find the meaning of those words. So let's look at some examples. The weather report said that it would only drizzle, but Cameron got caught in a deluge this afternoon. It was a welcome sight, though. It had been very arid the past few months, and the grass needed as much rain as they could get. All right, so looking at that word deluge, okay, so we're talking about weather, we're talking about the word drizzle, and if you know what that word drizzle means, like a light rain, but he was caught in a deluge. And then also the word arid. They said it had been very arid the past few months, and the grass needed as much rain. So you can think about these words, and you can look at the clues in the text to figure out what they mean. So when we're talking about a deluge, means it comes a flood, like all of a sudden all this rain is pouring down. Okay, and then also that word arid. They talked about it being very arid and the grass needed rain. So arid means dry. Okay, our next example. Sam had never been in such a rural setting. There were many barns, but they were spread out across the countryside. There were cows, cornfields, and wheat. Everything was pristine. totally different from the dirt and grime he was used to in the city. Okay, so looking at the words rural and pristine. So we can look at some clues when they're talking about rural. We see the word barn, we see countryside, cows, cornfield, and wheat. So when we think about that word rural, we can think about, okay, I know all of those things are out in the country. And then that word pristine, I'm thinking, okay, so we're talking about in the city, it's very dirty and grimy, but everything that is in the country is pristine. So maybe that has something to do with an antonym. Okay, so when we put those words, we can look and see that rural does mean country, and pristine means clean and fresh. Okay, so let's look at another example. All right, the news reporters had been talking about the case for weeks, but the judge showed no prejudice. Instead, she remained very open-minded about the case. During the trial, she listened closely to the defendant's words. She deeply questioned whether the man was guilty of the crime he had been blamed for. Okay, so we can also look at this word prejudice, and we see that affix or that prefix pre, and so we can try to figure out, okay, so maybe that has something to do with the definition. And then also with that word defendant, we see that D, that prefix as well. So that can also help us when we're trying to figure out the meaning of the word. Okay, so when we read our sentence and we put those clues together, we read that prejudice means bias, that they didn't show one way or the other. And then also defendant, an accused person. So we're talking about a trial, we're talking about a case, and we're talking about a judge. So when we put all those clues together, it will also help us figure out the meaning of those two words. All right, Professor Dean sat still in perfect silence. He gazed in the wonder across the ocean, contemplating all the amazing creatures that likely moved about beneath. He activated his transmitter to send a signal to his research team. Awaiting their arrival, he continued to look thoughtfully at the ocean. Okay, so we see some roots in here as well. Trans, we saw earlier that trans means across. So when we're talking about our story, we see some clues. We're talking about an ocean, we're seeing creatures, and a signal. So when we're trying to figure out the meaning of these two words, we can put those in and we figure out contemplating is thinking about. And transmitter is a device that sends messages. One thing you can do is when you're seeing clues, when you're answering questions, you can plug those back in. So I can read that sentence that he gazed in wonder across the ocean, thinking about all the amazing creatures that likely moved about beneath. So that is another strategy you can use when you're trying to figure out the meaning of words. Okay, so some things to remember. Root words and affixes can help you figure out the meanings of words. So if you break down those parts, you can get an idea of what that word means. You can also use the text around the words or those context clues to figure out the meaning of words. Also, look for examples, definitions, synonyms, or antonyms in the text to help you find the meanings of words. So hopefully this will help you when you're trying to figure out the words in a story or in a text.